Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 3 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 22, also known as the Dreamers of the Day. And this is the final chapter of the game. We have reached the final fight before we can put this adventure behind us, and it is a bit of a mixed feeling getting here. Because this is a really fun game, I think. Next to the second game, I think this is the most fun game in the entire series. And since this is the final chapter, we're gonna go through a lot of fighting, a lot of combat. Most of it is really fun, and unfortunately we're gonna face down against a final boss that is my least favorite boss in the series, actually. I think it's the hardest fight, and I'm gonna talk about it when we get there. Let's first focus on getting to that boss. And if you have followed this entire series, you will perhaps have noticed that I don't have the same weapons I had when I finished chapter 21. And that is due to the game trolling me a little bit, because you do carry over your guns from Atlantis of the Sands, which is the 21st chapter, into this. But when I was recording my walkthrough, something happened when I came into this mission. Because the game audio just disappeared. All the audio except for my weapon, all the enemy weapons, all music just vanished. And I tried several times resetting the checkpoint. Didn't work, and eventually I went into the main menu and chose this chapter via chapter select. And then the game gives you the, I think it's called the M9, that machine gun and a regular pistol. So I lost my Magnum and I lost my grenade launcher, which was a bit sad, but I made it work anyway. That is something you may know. If you do the same thing, then I don't think you will unlock the crushing trophy. So if the game just vanishes for you, trudge on anyway so you don't miss the trophy. But this fight, I've gone through quite a few enemies here, and now there are just these guys on the bridge left. And this room is great for taking on this part of the fight. Because we are sitting in a window, you get a sniper rifle up in this room, and whenever enemies throw grenades, one of three things usually happens. Either they will hit the wall on the outside and it will fall down and you will not be damaged by it, or you will not be hurt by it. Or it will fly in through the window, land right next to your feet, and you can pick it up and throw it back, which is an even better scenario. And the third option is what just happened, is that they throw in the grenade and they overshoot the throw. So it falls down in that big hole in the middle of the room. So it goes down on the bottom floor and you are safe either way. And that is something that I really like about that room, because you are more or less completely safe when you're in there. But don't go up there too early, because sometimes enemies can sneak up into that room behind you. So wait until you just have these guys left. It's 3 or 4 enemies up on this bridge. And since I ran out of sniper bullets due to my really bad aiming, and a shotgun doesn't work very well over distance, so I had to venture down once again. It's no big danger in doing it. There are great covers, as throughout most of this game you always have great covers, and that is something they changed in the 4th game, which anyone who has played the 4th installment in this series knows. And perfect. I will show you also, there is some ways to work around it. And as soon as this walkthrough is up and complete, I will start uploading my walkthrough for Uncharted 4 as well, so you will see what I mean in the ways I work around the fact that those battlegrounds are designed to be more dynamic, that you can't just duck down behind one piece of cover and return fire at all times, as you do in these previous installments.
ready for this? Let's do it.
But talking about this chapter, let's not focus on the next installment of the series. Let's... We're still in Uncharted 3, so I'll focus on this instead. This little area is completely devoid of enemies. All you need to do is just run through here. Enjoy the lovely architecture. I've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning once again that in these Uncharted games or in Naughty Dog games, there is a great attention to detail. Because in a lot of games, when an area is just for you to pass through, you usually tone down the details a little bit, but nothing is left to, what should I say, coincidence, or nothing is left behind in this game. My god, that is some terrible shooting. Also, that was clipping on geography. That was not my fault, but the shots leading up to that, terrible. But anyway, the geography in this game and in this series, I love it. There's a great attention to detail, as I just mentioned. You can see little cracks in pillars. You can see tiles missing here and there. Since this is a very old city, I have no idea how old it's supposed to be, probably a few thousand years. As these places always are in these games. Or in adventure movies as well. And it's quite amazing that even though with all our modern technology and all the things we have invented to venture into these places in a safe way, there's always one guy that has no money and doesn't believe in being cautious. He always go in guns blazing with just a shotgun and high hopes and fight ancient demons from beyond the grave and another dimension far, far away. Amazing. But somehow we always manage to get out on top and save the day, which is a good thing. You don't want those demons in our world. But this fight right here, going back to where we were, using this staircase is really good. You saw me right there. I just stood at the bottom of the staircase and used the fact that in a third-person shooter game, this is also something I've talked about numerous times, the fact that sometimes you can use the camera to go into like Angelina Jolie and Wanted. You can more or less not exactly curve the bullets around corners, but pretty short off. I hope you get what I mean right there. Because we can always aim the camera around corners in these games. That is also something that changed later in the series. But while we have the advantage of doing it in these old games, always do it. And be cautious here. I think there is one guy left right now. I'm not 100% sure. I was keeping my aim up because I thought there was a guy over on the left. Just doing a quick scan of the area, because all of this from the beginning of the chapter up to this point is on one life. I haven't died yet. I do die further on in the chapter. But I was trying to get at least, maybe not through the entire chapter, because that is quite hard. There are some challenging fights and you can get unlucky. But I wanted to get as far as possible without having to put in transitions and use the checkpoints. I'm not quite sure where the checkpoints are in this level. I know there is a checkpoint coming up because I died in the fight coming up right now. Here it is. Saw the transition right there. First thing you want to do in this fight, take out the guy with the grenade launcher on the left that you saw me just do. He is your first priority. Second priority, the heavy. The heavy is usually quite easy to take down, because before he jumps off that little ledge, he always stops and throws a grenade. And then he usually starts inching closer, then he throws another grenade. I got really unlucky with that one, because he threw it inside the fountain. So I couldn't pick it up and throw it back, so I'm gonna have to sacrifice some bullets from my magnum. But that's okay, because that's what it's there for. It's supposed to get you out of those sticky situations when you need a power weapon. But if you get a little bit more lucky than I am, or than I got, he will throw his first grenade, you pick it up, you throw it back. He will move a little bit closer, he will throw a second grenade, pick it up, throw it back, and that will end him. And now, going into the second part of this fight. Some guys are gonna show up on that bridge, so I recommend pick up your aim and just inch closer. So you can spawn kill the first guy. We have a guy with a sniper rifle over there. I used the good old cover trick. And then we're gonna do it to take out 2 more snipers. There's one up on that roof over there. So just poke her head out, line up the sight, hit him straight between the eyes. Beautiful. And then we have one more guy up here on the left. And after you've taken out these guys, you're safe for a little while. He even had an RPG, it seemed. So he could have been quite dangerous. But going out here, don't venture out too far, because 2 enemies are gonna come in over there from the right. You see them right there. If you move too far up, they will come down and they will just spray you and you will die. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, it will put you back at the beginning of this fight, where you saw the transition. And this fight actually took me a few tries, because I wanted to learn the spawns. And also that heavy, sometimes, once in a while, in every great moon, or whatever it's called in English, he may troll you. Or sometimes that grenade thrower guy can get really lucky and put one straight in your face and kill you instantly. Or if he doesn't kill you instantly, he puts you to a near death screen, and then the heavy will come and finish the job with his amazing shotgun of death and doom. But if you follow this video and use the same strategies I did, you will have no problems at all. Also be careful going up these stairs, because there is a grenade coming down. That grenade is always thrown down there. So be aware of that. It is a setup, it is programmed into the game that they will know when you're getting close, and they will throw a hand grenade down to greet you. But just run back or dodge back or whatever you choose to do, and then you can just use the staircase and the cover trick and shoot them in the head.
Sully, help me with this. We gotta get through here.
And we're almost halfway through the chapter right now. And here comes, I think it's here at least. No? Yes. This is just me being paranoid. There are no enemies in this area. But I remember that there is a big fight on this bridge. And it starts when you're heading back. So feel free to just run across it right now. I was being cautious. Wow. Never mind, I thought the fight would start earlier, but it didn't. And this fight is all about prioritizing. First thing you do is take out the sniper. Pick up his rifle and take out the guy with the RPG up there on the second level. Trying to line up my sight, I thought it was higher up than it was. After you've taken out the sniper guy, or actually after you've taken out the guy with the RPG, focus on the heavy and spare no expense in taking him out. Because this fight becomes a little bit harder than it should be. Because now, due to circumstances I'm not gonna divulge right now, this place has started falling apart. You can see it's crumbling, it's quaking, everything is rumbling and shaking. Made a rhyme. Didn't even think about it. But that makes this significantly harder, because every time the ground rumbles, your aim starts rumbling. And that is something I'm not super pleased about. You see right now I've fired 3 sniper bullets. It was 2 sniper bullets. Straight into thin air just because my aim started wobbling. I couldn't do much to adjust. So it makes things more challenging than they should be, I think. But if you take your time and line up your shots, you can still prosper in this fight. It doesn't make it super much harder. Wow, I'm doing some great sentencing today. My grammar is absolutely amazing. Well, it doesn't make it much harder, but it puts in an unnecessary level of challenge. And now I'm gonna stop talking about that because apparently my tongue doesn't want to cooperate and I can't speak when I speak of unfair challenges in games. My mouth doesn't want me to do it, so my tongue says fuck it and leaves. Anyway, going up this bridge, or pushing up this bridge when all the enemies are dead. 2 enemies are gonna come in from the left. See them right there? So you don't move up too far, because that can put a quick end to you. And I think, once again, not 100% sure, but I think that puts you back at the beginning of this fight. But they decide to do a suicide rush, so if they want to commit suicide, always be glad to help them and oblige.
Keep moving.
And after all these enemies are dead, before you head up in that elevator, this is just business as usual. Run around the battlefield. The place is just rumbling and quaking to stress you. You are not at any risk, so I suggest just run around, pick up whichever weapons you feel you get the most ammo for, and which you feel most comfortable with. I managed to restock on my Magnum. I'm not using the Magnum very much in this video, it's something I just realized. Which is a bit weird, because whenever I pick up power weapons, I try to use them as much as possible, because that's what they're there for. They are amazing. Be careful, by the way, going up here. Also, that is quite fun. See that? Grab the dead guy. He was dead, hadn't fallen over yet, and for some reason I grabbed him. So he just stood around there for a few seconds like, what's going on? I wanna go to the afterlife. Anyway, looked stupid, looked a bit fun. I think so, at least. And this is, now we're going into the last firefight of the chapter and of the game. Because the last boss is, we're gonna tackle that with our bare fists. So feel free to use all the bullets you want to in this area coming up. I got a bit confused, I wasn't quite sure where I was supposed to go, even though I played through this game several times. Sometimes your memory just doesn't want to cooperate. But what you're supposed to do is head up in this. I don't know what it is, if it's an old clock tower or mill or whatever it is. But what you're supposed to do is head up. And now I'm being cautious, because when I was heading up the ladder, I saw a guy running past the hole in the floor. And I wasn't quite sure where the hell he went. And apparently he went up that ladder and started waiting for me with his hand grenades. So be cautious, I think he always stops up there. And also in this room there is a guy on top of the staircase. You can see just a little hint of him right there. So just inch your way out. Sometimes you can throw up a grenade and kill him that way if you want to. You don't have much use for them after this. But whichever way you choose, that suits you. Because as I said, this is the final fight of the game. Or that was the final fight of the game. All that remains now is taking on the final boss. But before we get to him, we are gonna do some platforming once again. And this is a classic staple of the Uncharted series. Platforming on shit that starts falling apart. Quite fun most of the time, but there is a trophy for beating this chapter on 1 life. Without dying, you have to do it on at least medium or normal difficulty. I haven't gotten that trophy yet, but something that makes me a bit nervous about going for it is the platforming between these platforms. The platforming between these platforms, once again, great grammar. Because these platforms can troll you, as you know, when it comes to all these crumbling things in these games. Because sometimes it was most a problem in the first game. By the way, this is the final boss. And we are settling the score with Talbot. And I think this is by far the hardest final boss in the series, and that is due to the fact I don't think there are any checkpoints in this entire fight. And the way it seems to work, I wish I had a really great strategy for this that I could tell you step by step how to beat him. I don't, sadly. But the way I think it works is that he has more or less 3 phases. In the first phase you can be quite aggressive, you can go in for the punches. When you have beaten him up enough, every time you try to punch him or when you try to be aggressive, he will grab you and you will have to break free from his grab. So when he goes into his second phase, you're gonna have to be a bit more defensive. Try to dodge his attacks, grab him when he goes for you. And then in the third phase, he will be, once again, you can be a bit more aggressive. But also a problem with this fight is that if he hits you twice, you're dead. When he stabs you the first time, you go into a near-death screen, so whenever he manages to hit you, always be defensive afterwards. Only go for dodging his attacks until your life bar is full again. Because if he hits you again while you're in this near-death state or until your life bar has refilled, you're dead. There's no buts about it. And that's what makes this fight so frustrating, because he is extremely aggressive sometimes. And also some of his attacks are extremely hard to dodge. You see that attack when he drops the knife down? First you have to mash circle to try to break out of a hold. And when he drops his knife and tries to slit you across the stomach, you have to press triangle. And the window for you to press triangle is extremely small. And also on crushing, you don't have any on-screen prompts. And that's also something that makes this so hard. If you had the on-screen prompts like circle and triangle, this would have been easy. This would have been just a cakewalk, no problems at all. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck with him. The best advice I can give you is to just don't get frustrated, don't give up. It is a hard fight. There's no way around that. Maybe there is some guy or girl, of course, on YouTube that has a great strategy for this, that they have broken down the fight in every little frame. Then I wish you the best of luck in going in and finding that. By the way, we have reached the end of the fight. Thank God. I don't know how many failed attempts I did at this fight before I beat it. But also the platforming that I was talking about before. All that remains now is to climb up a bit and shoot Talbot, and then we can get out of here. Sometimes when you're doing platforming on moving objects in this series, the game just doesn't cooperate and you jump straight out into thin air, was what I was gonna say. before we go in and put the final bullet in him here. All you need to do now is just spray him with bullets. That's it. And that puts an end to him. And we can venture back up this cliff once again. And finish this game. Now you have effectively beaten this game. All you need to do is jump up there, grab Sully's hand, and jump over to this orange bridge. And we are done. We have beaten Uncharted 3 on crushing difficulty. So, if you have watched this entire series, I want to thank you. I hope you have enjoyed the series. I hope you have found it helpful if you came here for help. And either way, if you're just tuning in from time to time, I want to thank you very much for watching. And I will see you again in my next walkthrough. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.